Hello, and greetings from the north of Germany. As you probably know, if you are actually taking the time to watch this video, you probably know who I am. I'm Paul, and I've been host and creator and head producer of Heiko Reality for several years now. And as I've announced, semi-formally announced, and as I've seen people start talking about on YouTube in the comments, that I am in fact retiring from Heiko Reality. And so I wanted to take the opportunity to make a retirement video of sorts, to not only say thank you to the fans who've watched over all these years, but also to give you guys an explanation of why, what I'm doing, and then also take this chance to look back at some of the really great times we've had on Heiko Reality. This is completely informal. I put out on the Facebook group if anyone has questions. I've put together some questions that were sent in. I have a brief outline I'm going to follow, but once I was done editing that finale, I said I am done editing for a long time, so I'm not going to edit this out. I'm not going to fix it at all, so we're just going to shoot from the hip, just go with it. I'll dive right in here with a question that Shandy, from Survivor 3 and Survivor 5 wrote in, and she wrote in and said, can you talk a little bit about what went into the first season? How did you decide to go from your backyard survivors to a longer version? And what happened during that first season that you were maybe not expecting? Also, did you think that this would be a one-time thing, or did you anticipate doing multiple seasons? Well, that'll give me a good chance to talk about how Heiko Reality even started. And Shandy alluded to it there. My backyard survivors, and that is really how Survivor started for me. It was the year 2002. I was 12. Survivor Marquesas had just aired, and I was as big a fan then as I was now. I probably was even a bigger fan back then, even though I just, I'd finished 6th grade. But my brother, who happens to be Darren from the show, I don't know if everyone put that together or not, but Darren and I were huge Survivor fans. Darren at that time was like a 1st grader. He was like, 7 or something, 7 or 8. And we always would play Survivor together in the backyard, and we had these 2 friends who would always come over, and we would just always play Survivor. And, I mean, the game didn't last very long because there were 4 of us, so... and we had a final 2 back then. If we had a final 3, then that would have been really stupid. 1 vote off, and that was it. So at least we had 2 vote offs. And we'd play Survivor in the backyard. We'd come up with 2 challenges every time, and then, yeah. And what happened just that one summer is I just really wanted my mom to film it. So she brought out this big camera. They're on some of these weird cassette tapes. They're not even like the full cassette. It was like the next step up before they got to CDs, which are like these like little tiny cassettes like this. And so we just have, it's about like 10 minutes maybe recorded on this videotape, and it's the 4 of us in the backyard, and I won the first community challenge, and forced a tie and got Darren out, and then Darren was bitter at me and pushed me when he got voted off, and I ended up coming in 2nd place in that season. And so that's really where it started. And then within the next year, I took an editing class at my elementary school and learned how to use iMovie. And from that, then the show just started to grow. And every summer, I would do another season of Survivor in my backyard. I participated in the next season, and then I kind of started editing, and then after that, I became the host. And so once I became the host, we started with 7 people. Then we went to 10 people. Then we went to 12, 14, and to 15. And that was leading up until like the summer of 2007, 2008 maybe. And looking back at it, some of it's completely awful that there's these little kids out there who are like in elementary school, and I'm forcing them to vote each other out and making each other cry. But that's really where it started, and that's where I really, put in time of, putting in music for Survivor and doing all the editing skills that I learned how to do. And actually, what I can maybe offer to you is I only have one of those seasons actually on files that are uploadable to YouTube, but maybe something I can release here this year in the spring would be a flashback to that last Survivor season I did in my backyard, which features, there's 15 players in it, but Darren's on it, Tyson's on it, Dustin from season 4 is on it, and Cassidy is on it. So maybe I can look into uploading those. So during this time when I was working on all these things, I also then got involved with another reality show called The Mole, and I'm not sure how many fans of you out there who have actually watched Heiko Reality from the very beginning. How I first got on YouTube, when I first started putting things on YouTube, was actually a spinoff of The Mole called Montana Mole. And if you don't know what The Mole is, look it up. It's an awesome reality show, and we had an awesome time filming it. And that started it was in like 2007. It was like an overlap. I was still doing it in my backyard, but not posting them anywhere. And then I started doing a show on The Mole after I had watched a couple other online Mole seasons. I kind of modeled myself after that. It looked really fun. And so starting in the year 2007, 2008, we did 5 seasons of The Mole, which is like crazy to look back at now. But it was a one-day event, and there were, I think, like 10 episodes per season. So it was a much easier process. I mean, it still was stressful, but we could do it at one time. So we were able to do one like every 4 months. So I produced 5 seasons of those. Eventually, we went to Idaho. We did 2 seasons there. Where Amanda from Survivor went to college, and so she helped co-produce that. And so there were 7 seasons of that altogether. Also during this time, I had also worked on Montana's Next Top Model, which I got a lot of pressure from people to do it, and it was really more fun than it was serious. But those are also on youtube.com/Heiko201 are those old Montana Mole, Montana's Next Top Model videos, and then the Mole is on youtube.com/Heiko101. And if you want to see a lot of these players back in their original form, there's a ton of players from Survivor who originally started on The Mole. So anyway, that's how I got started. And I was doing The Mole, I did Top Model, and I had done Survivor in the backyard. And I just was getting a lot of pressure from people. I know specifically from Brent. He had done The Mole. It didn't turn out really well for him. And he said, do Survivor and I'm your man. And I think I just kind of put it out there. Like, I think this is the summer I can do Survivor. The thing that always hindered me from doing an actual Survivor is I knew if I wanted to do one and put it on YouTube, it needed to be outside my backyard. It needed to be actually out in the wilderness. And that was always a struggle because I didn't really know how to equip everything, how to get the cameras to do it. And so the way we first started is we were able to use someone's ranch, and being that it was a ranch, there was a house there with a place where we could plug in cameras, and that's kind of how it all started. What I wasn't smart to figure out until season 3 is they make these things called car chargers, and that's how we charge cameras for season 3, 4, and 5. But the first 2 seasons we were both based at actual ranches where we had electricity supplied. And season 1, it was a success. I don't know. Shandy asked about, did I think it would be a one-time thing? I didn't know. I knew it was going to be a lot of work. I honestly did not know how much work it was going to be that first season. I spent a ton of money on that season. Probably $800, I would say, altogether by the time it was done, because it was complete startup cost for that. All of my really good people who, helped me with production all wanted to be on the show. So I really was almost on my own for that. And I had Darren helping me, and I had a couple other people helping me, but it just really was not an ideal situation. We were so spread out that the trek from Tribal Council, I had to drive my truck, and it would take 20 minutes to drive from camp to Tribal Council and 20 minutes back. So any trip just to go to Tribal Council, where also it was near the house, that's where cameras were, to charge a camera it was 40 minutes of back and forth. So it just really was a long 3 days. It was also hard because there were so many good friends on that season, and so things got pretty heated about that. And I can talk about these individual seasons here in a minute, but it was a very challenging season. And after it was done, I honestly don't know that I knew right away we're gonna do another one of this. But I think once all the people who were on the show were really supportive of it. Once it aired, people were really supportive of it. I started using a new editing program, Final Cut, and it just kind of took off from there. But it definitely was never my vision that I would be doing that huge project for 5 summers in a row. Okay, so I rambled on a lot, but Shandy rambled a lot in the actual question, so I justify it. Brandon wrote in, a fan here, Brandon, and said, "What kind of work goes into making a season? Production costs, finding participants? Are you out on the location for the whole 3 days, etc.?" Um, it's a long process, but honestly, as the years have gone on, I've perfected it more and more, especially doing these other reality shows. So I have it down. I had it down to pretty much of an art form by the end of it. Of the first stage is you get the participants, and then you do this, you do that. Participants were always hard to get. It was not hard to get 75% of the cast. It was always really easy to get to get 12 people who are really gung ho about it, who really want to do it. In the beginning, it was just my close friends who did it, and then they were always able to tell other people about it. And once we actually had a show completed, people would talk about it, people would know about it, and so that's kind of what got that going. But it always was like the last few people was so hard. And the thing I learned is you always have to cast more people than you actually expect are gonna show up. So I started in season 3 always casting 18 people, knowing that you're not going to get all 18 of them there, because people commit to this idea of, yeah, I'm gonna come out for 3 days, and then it always ends up falling through with a couple people. So yeah, that the whole process of it is a lot. Like I said in the beginning, I spent a lot of money. Luckily, I was able to reuse a lot of things, and contestants overall were really gracious about giving a small donation when they showed up to play, to help kind of offset the costs of this endeavor. And yes, we are out there for the whole 3 days. The times when we were on a ranch, we were luckily kind of able to stay in. We were never like in a house, but we were in like a shed or like a kind of a garage type area where we could sleep and stuff. But we're out there for the whole 3 days, and so are the contestants. Good. I think I covered that process here. Alex wrote in and asked, "What are some of your favorite memories across all the seasons you have done?" And I thought about this, and I thought would be fun is I thought back to each season and one kind of funny behind-the-scenes story that I hadn't told from each season. The story I wanted to tell from season 1 was that you can see in the first couple tribal councils, I think it is, and in season 1 you definitely, it's like, I mean, I think the filming quality got better as we went on, and people learned how to do things, but in the beginning it just was kind of just go. And if you watch, I think it's like the second tribal council or something, maybe the third tribal council, you see this like little like boy running around way back in the distance. And the ranch we were at, that was one of the kids that his parents lived on this ranch, and he just like roamed the fields all the time, this little farm boy, and he just wandered right into the shot, out of the shot. And so that was a little frustrating to work around that. But then the funniest part was when we did the Survivor challenge at the final 6, when they had to stand on their blocks and stand there for immunity, and Kyle, that was the first win he had. I tried to tempt them off with food, and the food selection at that point I had not really timed out. I did not really, like, now, like, if there's food for an auction or food for like a reward, like, it's marked, it's set aside, like, reward, auction, do not touch. But with back then I didn't really know that, and so the food went very quickly. So the food that we had to offer them was like just like the bottom of the barrel stuff that was left over. There was this huge, like, a dozen Costco muffins, chocolate, blueberry, poppy seed. And I was like, that's gonna get them off, because someone will jump off for a muffin. Well, I go to get the muffins early in the morning of day 3, and little farm boy has broken into the shed where they are, like torn open the plastic, and is just like eaten a bunch of the muffins, and like muffin crumbs everywhere. So that did not go through, and we were not able to do that reward. And so that's why you see me take out things like an oatmeal cream pie and kind of, dangle it like this, and they just laugh at me. My funny story for season 2 was actually how mad Ichupe really was when I canceled Tribal Council after Zeke quit. And I canceled it, and I knew, because this huge storm was coming. The first season we hadn't really had to deal with a huge storm during the game, and so we didn't know exactly how it was going to impact the game, but the storm was bad. And so we had to cancel Tribal Council, and I knew right after canceling it that they're still going to have to make this up. We're not just going to, not let them get out of that. But Ichupe was so mad about it when they got their tree mail and they won this extra reward of macaroni, and they just chewed me out. And I didn't tell them that, they're going to have to make it up either. I said, you're going to have to put faith in the show that we're going to be fair about this. And Ryan was very, very upset. And he told me that he just, he was thinking about quitting. And, just was very, very upset about the whole thing. And I remember I told him, I said, Ryan, you just need to trust me. And then he flipped me off and walked away. So, yeah, they can get really intense, those players playing Heiko Reality Survivor. The funny story I have from season 3 would be... Oh, what was the one I was going to share about season 3? Did nothing fun happen on season 3? I think what was really... I think what would be fun to tell you about season 3 was the fact that at the final 6, when Sigrid got voted off the first time with 2 idols against her, it was chaos on set, because there were people who were out of the game that were helping out kind of production and all the people filming and stuff, and everyone knew this was coming and they knew it was going to happen. And so it was like before tribal council, as they're walking up, everyone's like giddy 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 giddy, and then it's like, hey, stop, you have to drop it, we have to be composed, and we have to go on with the show. But that was a lot of time what was fun. There was like there was this team of production people, of former players or people who had been voted off, and camera people always kind of talking about the show. Now the second time Sigrid got voted off, though, it was very, very low key. I was notified at the last minute that something crazy was going down, and I thought, okay, Paul, you need to hold yourself together here, because you don't want to startle anyone and ruin anyone's strategy. Because I thought, okay, well, if I'm acting strangely about something, then that might prompt someone to use an idol who wasn't going to use an idol, or vice versa or whatnot. So yeah. And then from the memory that when you asked me about my favorite memories, the thing that came to mind right away about season 4 was that I remember it was the morning of day 3. I was the first one up, and I pulled JJ aside and we were doing an interview with JJ. And where we were for seasons 3 and 4, we were in an area that was very heavily populated by grizzly bears. It was a real threat. There's grizzly bear sightings every year there. Every summer, there's always, there's some attack or someone almost attacked by a grizzly bear. And so, I always did my research about, how do you supposed to respond if you see a grizzly bear, and you're supposed to have bear spray on you. I didn't have bear spray on me or anything, but I pulled JJ aside when doing an interview. And as I'm interviewing him, I kind of hear this like noise, and I don't even like know really what the noise was, but like in your moment when you have grizzly bears on the mind, like you swear it's a grizzly bear. And for some reason I heard a grizzly bear like panting or moving or doing something. And I have the footage somewhere, and I'm interviewing him, and I said, okay, JD, just keep talking. We want to keep being loud, but I think I hear something over there, and I don't know if it's a bear or not. And so JJ kind of freaks out and jumps up on this rock, and I just kind of keep talking loud like this, because I'm hoping that if it is a bear, he's going to hear me and go away. And then I look closer, and I kind of listen where the sound is coming from, and it was actually Brent and Amanda who were on production, and they were just waking up and getting out of their tent. And but totally thought it was a grizzly bear. As far as memorable behind-the-scene moments about Survivor All-Stars, was that every single reward they won, there was, except for the first episode, there was always a clue to the hidden immunity idol that were hidden in the rewards. But for some reason, Taylor and Sigrid were the only ones to find the one hidden in the peanut butter. There was one hidden in the fruit basket. There was one hidden in the beverages they won. There was one hidden in the box of graham crackers. And for some reason, no one found it. No one looked for it. And then once Taylor was out, no one else was really into the game enough to realize or had picked up on the fact that there were clues hidden there. So that's why I had to introduce the clues for the hidden immunity idols later on. But it was pretty funny that I would follow these people back to camp and like really trying to see who's going to get the clue, and then no one ever did. But Taylor was smart though, because she actually looked for it when they won the comfort reward. I could tell when I brought over the blankets and the pillows. Like I didn't knowing that okay, whoever like puts their hands out to grab this should grab this, because I don't want to give anyone else an unfair advantage. I brought him over, and right away like Taylor grabbed him right away. But I think the clue might have fallen out of the blanket or something like that, because she did look for it, but she ultimately couldn't find it. So good question. Then let's see here. So then Brandon asked here, favorite season to film, and it's very easy for me. Season 3 was the best season to film. I don't know if my patience was like at a really good point because I had just gotten back from Germany where I was for 5 months, and within a week and a half we filmed it. But for some reason it just really went well with all the production. There were, I think maybe also to the attitudes of the players. There was really no one who was bitter about it or upset about it. And just the location where we were, everything was so accessible. I would say season 3 was the most fun for me. I would say that season one was the worst, definitely. There were parts of it that were fun, but overall 1 was not fun to film. And Survivor All Stars, there was tons of it that was fun, but it definitely was a very high stress season. And so 2, 3, and 4 were all pretty stress free, but season 3 was definitely my favorite one. As far as filming wise. Then Brandon asked the hard question, favorite winner. And I can't give an answer to this. And it's a little hard because Brent, Chelsea, and Shandy are all very, very close friends to me, and they were close friends with me at the time when they won. Whereas Kellen and Taylor are much younger than me, so I didn't really know them at all before they played the game. So it's kind of hard for me to pick, which win is my favorite. But I will say that I was elated when Chelsea won her season because that one was one that surprised me the most. I think going into the final 2, I didn't think she had it, and I think she's one that really pulled out all the stops and kind of changed what happened. So that was kind of and nothing against Chris, because Chris played a really good game and was really physical and stuff. But it was a pleasant surprise to see Chelsea go in, fight really hard for it, and come out with it on top. Amanda writes in here and says, Amanda from Survivor writes, my question is, what prompted the change from your polo-wearing mole days to your button-up Survivor attire? New show, new swag? If you notice, every time I'm on the mole, I'm wearing a stupid polo because that used to be my wardrobe. Now my wardrobe has been I don't actually know if it's more sophisticated, because I guess a polo is pretty like golf club sophisticated, but I just try to be a little bit more like Jeff Probst, and so that's why I left the polos behind. That was more for the polo, was for the mole, a little more suspicious or something. I don't know. But now that I'm moving on from Survivor, I guess I'm gonna have to find a new look, because I can't keep up the same one for that much longer. Thomas wrote in here and said, how come your friend Mark never appeared on the show? Well, I always forget about Mark, and some people don't even know he exists, so that's probably why Mark wasn't on the show. We have another question here from Emily. Emily from Survivor Prior Mountains. She says, why was I your all-time favorite contestant and best Survivor cast member? Simple question that I believe demands an answer. Okay, Emily, well, you just keep telling yourself that you are the favorite. Would have been crazy to see what Emily could have done on All-Stars, but I will give a special shout-out to Emily for the fact that she was on 1 season of Survivor, 2 seasons of The Mole, contestant on Top Model, and a judge on Top Model before she was a contestant. Like I said, Top Model's a little bit less formal about the rules here. So she appeared a lot of times. I have to thank Bryce, Bryce was on 2 seasons of The Mole, 2 seasons of Survivor, and the host of 3 seasons of Top Model. So Bryce really, really was a huge staple of Heiko Reality. The same case can be made for Amanda. She was on The Mole twice. She was on All Stars twice. And she was a huge help to me in most of the other seasons. She was either one of the top few people planning, or she was my co-executive producer. I have to thank Mike, too. Michael, who was on 2 seasons of The Mole, 2 seasons of Survivor, was there, I think, every single time. I think he was the only one who, every single Survivor season, he was there to help. No, but the same can be said about Brent, too. Brent didn't do very well in The Mole, though, so he didn't get the chance to come back and be an all-star. And there's tons of people that I'm just not going to bore you and thank you, but there really were tons of people that really supported me this whole time and really encouraged me and really made it fun. Yeah, good. Brandon asked here again, anything to look forward from Paul in the future, or ways to follow Paul on social networks? Well, like I said, I think I really would like to put up that video from 2008 or something, and you can see small Darren, small Tyson, Dustin and Cassidy, and kind of see the show I did before Prior Mountains. Unfortunately, Survivor Prior Mountains, I know a lot of people are upset because they're not on YouTube. It was a huge disaster I did several years ago. I was in YouTube. It was Christmas Day. I wasn't thinking, and I thought I was clearing out all the comments from my message chain. You get a message on YouTube that says someone has commented on your video. I selected all, hit delete, wasn't thinking. I said yes, I'd like to delete them. I actually hadn't chosen comments. I had chosen every video that I had uploaded, and so deleted them all. I said, okay, well, it's annoying, but I'll just have to re-upload them all. Went to my external hard drive, which at the time was also malfunctioning, and so it had copied 2/3, maybe 75% of the episodes. So there are several parts, mostly of the first 6 episodes, that are missing tons of parts from that season. It has always been my intention to go back and re-edit it, but the editing process is such a long one and such a hard one that I just really haven't found the time for it. So I'm really hoping that I can have someone help me do that, and at some point that I can make those available. But if you can get to the first few episodes, once you hit the merge, there's only one part of one episode missing. As far as social network, you can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Paul Osleson, and PAULASLESON. I'm currently pretty inactive, but there could be a chance that if I do start, posting stuff about Survivor, that would be where it would be. So you can feel free to follow me on there. Yes. So with that, I guess I want to say thank you again to everyone who's watched, everyone who's commented, everyone who who's just been a part of this experience. It's been a huge part of my life for a very long time, and it kind of has just come the time that I need to move on. And this upcoming summer is going to be the craziest summer of my life. As you might know, I'm living in Germany right now. I come home in June. I'm in Montana for a week and a half. Then I moved to Chicago. Well, first I have a job in Chicago, and I have training for 5 weeks there. So I fly to Chicago for 5 weeks of training. Then I need to fly back from Montana, and it's at the rates looking at now, I will probably be back in Montana for less than a week, where I'm getting married. After I get married, then I have a few days to relocate with my soon-to-be wife Alice back to back to Chicago, and then I have a 2-year teaching commitment there. So I really do not have the time anymore, or I have no time in the summer to do another season. And as much as I do love it, and as good as it's been, I will be excited to have more time in my life to do some other things, to work on some other things for myself. And I also would like to stop when it still is fun for me. This season was really fun. It was really fun to put together. It was great to have all these contestants back. So I don't want to get to the point where I hate doing it. So I think it's a good time to stop. With that being said, there might still be a Survivor coming out this year. Darren, my brother, and Connor, not Connor from Survivor All-Stars, Connor from Survivor Hellring Plateau, who was my right-hand man for help planning Survivor All-Stars, they have decided that they would like to take over Heiko Reality. I am giving them everything to Heiko Reality, and in fact, after I post this video, they have the passwords to YouTube, they have the administrative powers on Facebook, and they will be the new producers, the new creators, the new whatever you want to call it, of Heiko Reality. The plans are in the works for a Survivor this summer. I know they're already in the casting process for it. And I just wish them all the luck. I hope you guys will stay tuned and watch what they come up with. It's obviously, Darren does have some editing background, but I'm giving him my program, so it's definitely going to be a new learning curve for them, so you might have to be patient with them and supportive of them as they grow with the show and put their own spin on things. I'm not sure exactly which one of them is going to host, or if there's going to be another host. I don't really know that much about it, because I'm consciously taking a step back, because I know if I start getting involved a little bit, I'll be involved way too much. and I'm really happy that someone is going to take it over, and I'm really excited to see what they come up with, and I'm excited to see a season. I hope I don't find out what happens in the season so I can actually comment every episode. So yes, thank you again very much. And even though I'm done here, it looks like Heiko Reality is getting a second breath of life. Thank you so much to everyone, and I will see you later.